Hi, and welcome back to Beyond the Monsters. Today we have Victorio. See, I'm so bad with names. I'm so glad that I pronounced that right. I got it right, right?
Double T, V-I double
He,
T,
yes,
yes.
yes. He is with us all the way from California, and he's going to share his story with us today. Trigger warning: sexual assault, rape, abuse, and other explicit content. So go ahead. It's all yours.
Sure. So my name is Vittorio White Gray. I'm a voice actor, film producer, DEIA consultant, lupus warrior, survivor, and LGBTQIA2 plus advocate, as well as a disability advocate. I live
Cool.
with complex PTSD from trauma I experienced in childhood and beyond. Trauma that never stopped, actually. And I'm on here today to tell my story of how I survived child abuse, homelessness, being kidnapped and raped, and 3 heart attacks and paralysis. All of which were a result
Wow.
of being negated as an AFAB child, assigned female at birth child. And it all began for me at 2 years old. I was born to executive parents in the late 1980s in the literal safest city for its size in the country. My dad was a decorated Vietnam veteran turned international corporate lawyer, and my mother was a
Oh,
tech exec that left the company after having her kids. In searching for answers for decades, in searching for answers for decades, I've come to understand that perhaps the pressure of being successful business people of color in the 1980s in a very conservative environment led them to spank, humiliate, beat, and shame me because I didn't fit the image. I realize now it was definitely more than that because healthy, well rounded, safe adults and parents do not hit their children, no matter what. No excuses. That put me in, anyway, they put me in a beauty pageant at 2 years old. I won. I don't know if that was the spark that, started this pattern of jealousy or what, but by the time I was 3 years old, I had already been sexually assaulted. I was left with an undocumented nanny from Central America that they already fired because a neighbor saw her hitting us and being abusive in the park. My grandmother in New Jersey had a triple bypass, and my mother left me and the other 2 children I was raised with for 6 weeks when it was supposed to only be 2 weeks without her. My father was there during the 6 weeks, but completely devoted to his other family, his job, corporate America.
oh,
He was in the 9 to 5, so he was there before work and came home in the evenings, but for all those days, the nanny was hitting, slapping, and performing sexual acts on me. That saga ended because one day, as my dad was hugging me before leaving for work, I held on to him for dear life. He would remind me of this while crying for many of my birthdays. That on that day in particular, I was hysterical and I would not let him go. And he pried me off of him. And I remember him saying this. He said, "I love you, honey, but I have to go to work." And he left me there. My dad said by the time he got home that evening that his little girl was gone and that a monster was there in her place. 6 weeks of horror laid the groundwork for the decades of abuse that followed. The story of what happened to me at 3 years old preceded me in every social and family circle for years. It became a salacious, gossipy storyline like every other private matter of my development. Nothing was private, nothing was sacred, yet everything was treated as like a family secret of sorts. They used what happened then as an excuse for my flat tone of voice, my preference for quiet, smaller environments, and general difference from the way the other kids in the family and the neighborhood interacted, to take the focus off of their physical and psychological torture. I was hit very hard and with various objects, and it did not stop until I was 12 years old. And I told them I would report them if they ever put another hand on me. Prior to that, I was told, if you call the police, I'll kill you before they get here. I believed my father. Until one day I went to the private Mormon school they sent me to. We are not Mormon at all. They sent me to private Mormon school. And I had to cover up my bruises and welts on the backs of my thighs. And the only reason they were visible is because they made me wear that, like, typical Catholic schoolgirl Britney Spears, the plaid skirt, the uniform, right? That's the only reason you could even see the scars in the first place. I always thought that was not the smartest strategy. And just so you know, pants were a unisex option at that school, but that was my family. But that embarrassed me so badly that I finally did stand up for myself. I remember him nodding once, saying nothing, and walking away. And he never hit me again after that. It mostly turned into control and name calling after that, shaming me for being LGBT, having a masculine side. I came out as lesbian at 12 years old and transgender at 21. Everything that went wrong in that dysfunctional family was blamed on me. Everything. I mean, I was the scapegoat, the black sheep, however you want to say it. My other parent had daily periods of rage. She would get angry at me for the placement of my eyebrows, how my lip turned into, she called this Elvis lip. She called it Elvis lip. She hated that. And when I would have my face, just going through normal facial expressions as I would be upset or sad, and any displays of my innate masculinity were seen as threatening and bizarre. She would mock my voice and share intimate details about my changing body to, anyone who would listen at literally every milestone in my life. I remember one time my mother picked me up from school, and because I was quiet and didn't greet her in just the right tone of voice, the facial expressions, and the level of joy that I should have had, she told a vanpool of my older brother's friends that I had my period. She said, just because your breasts are growing in and you have your period doesn't make you a grown woman that can give me attitude. I was 12 years old and just mortified.
Sure.
That platform of abuse, gaslighting, and scapegoating led me to seek emancipation at 16 years old. I successfully passed the exit exam for high school, but returned to finish my senior year because they begged me for a prom photo with a guy, of course. So I went with a good friend from junior high, and we took the photos, and I told them after that, I said, that is the last thing that I am ever going to do for you guys. So enjoy that. After that, I moved out on the day I turned 18 and moved to Los Angeles to do the Hollywood thing. Had a lot of fun and success with that. I was living openly as an LGBT Hollywood actor, basically, and certainly as a Christian. And by the time I was 20 years old, they had me evicted, which resulted in my homelessness and eventual kidnapping and rape, 9 days before my father died. It never stopped the abuse, it simply enhanced it. After my father died, the two children I was raised with left together for Asia and are currently and probably forever expatriates, over a decade long at this point. Leaving me to care for my mother, who was my personal invalidator. She would play Law and Order SVU every time I would enter the room for years. After that, I don't know what channel that is, but they only play Law and Order, and I hate that channel. I hate it. I would hear her scrambling. She would hear me coming down the stairs or down the hall or whatever. I would hear the news that was playing or The View or whatever, and I would hear her scrambling to find the remote to change it to dun dun dun, and just like
everybody knows that
yes,
sound.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, just. It was such a pattern of hurting me and invalidating my reactions to those pain, the pain that was inflicted on me, that it just kind of became the norm, but I was never okay with it. She would constantly deny me being transgender, calling me my birth name, calling me she, For reference, I completed my transition in 2 years and transitioned in 2012. It's 2025 now, and I got sheed the other day. Yeah, and I
Wow.
had a complete transition. Not that that matters because you should respect anyone no matter where they are on their journey. But I did have full
Mm-hmm.
chest reconstruction and phalloplasty surgery. I'm completely
Okay.
male in that way. So I don't know. After all that, I was able to purchase a small cottage in a small town, little central California area. It was not safe, but I could be myself there, and
Mm-hmm.
that like made it okay, I guess. From then on, I always pretty much lived in both places and would drive down to make sure she wasn't lonely or being self-destructive or whatever. Alcohol and greed literally destroyed that family. But I cared for my mother, like she's my mom,
Happens. Yeah.
and I thought that I could endure that pain, if it meant that I could ease some of hers. I had like extreme empathy for
Right.
the fact that she lost my dad. She lost her husband of 25 years. So at first I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, is this just misplaced grief? Is it like I don't know, but we're family, so I'm gonna be here and deal with it. But
Right.
yeah, it wasn't until I had my first heart attack at 29 years old, and two more after that, and becoming paralyzed with lupus, that I realized like I had to start setting some hardcore boundaries and
Yeah.
confronting these things that were still not that I didn't protest throughout the years, not that I didn't have my phases of yelling back and giving it right back to him as a
Sure.
child, you know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
when I got paralyzed with lupus, literally right around the 1 year wedding anniversary to my gorgeous, loving, beautiful wife. Oh, she's just my blessing from God, right? And the way that my
Aww.
wife came into my life and loved on me, like just with a whole heart, filled with love and protection, and the way she holds that safe space for me, the way that she loves me showed me what love wasn't all those years. And that was really her love
Right.
was really the catalyst that had me start telling my story and putting it out there because I deserve to be loved. Everyone does. I wasn't a bad kid or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I was just different and I
Right.
wasn't what they wanted
Right.
and I couldn't be controlled. Well, I'm glad that I was a creative, uncontrollable kid because now I'm a film producer, a voice actor, and I'm also an author. I actually wrote this book,
Right.
Being Negated, an anthology of
Oh,
transgender
love it.
survival stories, and it kind of fictionalizes some of my stories, and puts it in the perspective of other other just people that have been through
Right.
similar crises. So that's me in a nutshell, and I'm just putting it out there because I want my story to help other people.
Yes, absolutely. Wow.
It's heavy.
That was a lot all in that few minutes.
Yeah,
Whew.
I had to take notes just so I could make sure that I was
Yeah.
representing everything, accurately and fairly, not just going on, this is
Right.
what I feel. No, I kind of wanted to lean on, this is what happened. It happened to me.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about talk about a little bit like how you felt knowing that you were different and wanted to be different and like what you struggled with like in your younger years and then go from there so people can relate. I'm sure there's plenty of people that can relate and just know that it's okay and those feelings are normal and this is what you have to go through.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, that would be awesome.
Yeah. So,
I do have to say your voice is like ridiculous. I love it. Like
thank you so
it's just
much.
like I don't know, it's just beautiful. I love
Thank
it.
you so much. You have a lovely
Yeah.
tone of
Yeah.
voice too.
Oh, I'm like just a big mouth. So
Well,
I have to try to like tone mine down a little
oh no,
bit.
you're in the right field, definitely. Yeah, it's important. The stuff you talk about is important.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say that my earliest recollection of being different and that being different had ramifications was between
Mhm.
3 and 4 years old. I remember the first girl that I fell in love with after my soccer game when I was 4 years old. I say girl, she must have been
Oh.
probably like some 19, 20-year-old young lady. She was this brunette, and she
Okay.
was walking into Thrifties where we were going to get an ice cream because I'm sure we had lost. I wasn't good. But we were going to get an ice cream afterwards. Not every day wasn't awful, right? Like there were moments every day where things were awful, but we're still a family, and if you stay a family,
Right.
eventually you're gonna stumble upon some understanding in good times too, family vacations and all that.
Right.
But anyway, I remember I pulled up with my dad, and this gorgeous girl was walking into Thrifties, and I knew I was gonna get that ice cream like I always did. But today, I
Mm-hmm.
was hoping that I could also get that girl. I mean, I was a very small child, and yeah,
Big
yeah.
dreams, even at a little age. Okay.
Absolutely. Well, from then on, I just knew that I would have to marry a gorgeous woman just like that, or else I wouldn't be satisfied. That's just speaking the truth. So then I was on a lifelong mission
Mm-hmm.
to find myself fully so I could be a whole person and then go out and find her. And actually,
Right.
God tapped me on my shoulder that day. I was actually sleeping in my living room at my own bungalow, and a trickle of light came through the window. Right, like I'm normally not a morning person, but this trickle of light came in and it was just dancing on my face. It would not let me sleep. There was like a heat to it, and I guess scientifically it was just the morning sun coming up. But the way that it hit me that day, I was like, I have to get into this program, this nursing program, immediately. Today, actually. And I called. I got the last seat in the class. They told me I had to be there in an hour, and there she was. So everything basically that people tried to minimize in me or literally beat out of me, deprive me of, okay, maybe they didn't have the tools to know everything about transgender back
Right.
then. I certainly didn't. I transitioned as soon as I fully found out about it. I often thought back in the day, oh, you see transgender people on Jerry Springer, Maury Povich, Jenny Jones, whoever
Right.
was out there, and those people actually were doing the advocacy back then. People like Mark Angelo
Mm-hmm.
Cummings and
Mm-hmm.
others. They were putting their story out there, and it was completely unsafe to do so. But because they did, and my little trans self saw them, I knew that I was something other than what the norm was. And if I didn't know that about
Okay.
myself, my parents reinforced it by punishing me for the very things that my brothers did. I remember we had this like kind of like archway as it went from the living room to the kitchen, and I would jump up as I would grow throughout the years. I would jump up and like smack it like, yeah, I'm that tall now. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I remember I did that, and one day my mother snapped on me so bad. She said, "Damn it, stop jumping up and hitting that thing. I don't know what you're trying to prove around here, but stop doing that." And I didn't I didn't get it except, oh, it's that thing about me that she doesn't like. I remember, yeah,
Yes.
I just knew like that part of me is what pisses them off. And
Right.
I can recall um, words that I shouldn't have been aware of, like molestation, penis envy. Penis envy was a big one. That was something that got thrown around a lot, thinking that our little ears can't understand anything. I was an intelligent child. I had autism, but I was still smart. You know what I mean?
Right.
Neurodivergence
Right.
sometimes gives us better, different
Yeah.
abilities. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? So I
Mm-hmm.
remember it was like at one of the birthday parties we had in the backyard, one of the many gatherings that we had in the backyard, and my mom was sitting around with the other ladies. I was watering with a watering hose, just for fun, and I guess I put it between my legs and I was watering the plants. I don't know. I don't know if that was appropriate, but
Yeah.
I must have been 7 or 8.
Being
Yeah.
funny. Yeah.
And I was doing it to myself, but I just remember her sitting with the other ladies like, "Oh, penis envy. Oh, or she has penis right? She has penis envy and
She.
this and that."
She.
I learned that word too young. I saw the color purple too young. I was forced to read the red tint too young. Oh, wonderful, wonderful pieces of work. But I was just like, if that's what womanhood is, and you're telling me that that's what it means to be a
Yes.
woman, besides the fact that I physically don't feel that way, I look in the mirror and I'm not seeing myself yet. I don't want to grow up to be that or anything like you for
Right.
sure. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just
Right. Right.
traumatizing material. And I used to want to
Traumatizing.
do the
Yeah.
stuff that my brothers were allowed to do. Pop Warner, I wanted to play football. We had season passes to the
Hmm.
Rams games, for my whole childhood. I wanted to play football. I hate the sport now because they didn't let me. And the only reason they let me play
Right.
hockey is because the Mighty Ducks movie came out, through Disney, and
Yeah.
they had
Yeah.
one girl on the team in one of those movies, and that gave them the permission. Oh, okay, it's okay, it's okay. You can do hockey now. So I got to play hockey for my school, a great outlet. Oh, you get to just
Oh, I
yes, you get to
bet.
just check people and this and that,
Yeah.
and the only punishment is a
Yeah.
little penalty in the box, and it
Right.
really helped me grow into the boy that would later turn into this man before you.
I love it. Wow. So you were just always basically trying to please them.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I was.
So how did you end up not being so much under like her thumb with all that? Like what made you come out fully as trans, and did you tell her, or did you just like finally say like fuck it, I don't care, I'm gonna be me?
Right.
Like how did that happen?
So it was kind of a combination of everything. Let me tell you how she found out that I was a lesbian. I didn't just voluntarily come out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was in the days of AOL mail. You got mail, right? And so, like, there
Yes.
had been all of these, like, spam emails that she was getting, seemingly involving my account or something like it was convoluted. But then she came to me really upset and was like, I don't know what's going on with you lately, but I got all these emails. Are you selling drugs? Are you in a gang? Are you this and that? I was a good kid. I'm from Orange County. Like, And I was like,
Right.
no, I'm not. I'm just a lesbian. And I thought in that moment, it was going to be that aha moment. Oh, it all makes sense now. We love you.
Right.
We knew it all
It's
along.
out. Like everybody know.
Yeah.
Okay, they understand
The
now. Yeah, yeah,
reaction,
yeah. And you were only like
I was
12,
12.
right?
Yeah, I was
12.
12.
Yes, 12. Okay.
And so the reaction was literally, no, oh, no, no, you can't, I can't believe this. Oh, you're gonna be a bull dagger. Oh, what are you doing with your life? I sacrificed everything to be your mother, and this is how you're gonna repay me. I was like, I was effing
I'm laughing.
terrified.
I'm laughing just so you know. I'm laughing with you,
No,
not
no,
at you.
it's
I'm
funny.
laughing with you.
It's funny.
You're good. You're good at that impersonation.
Hey, as a means of survival and playing things out in my mind to make sure I'm keeping the
Yes.
bit of sanity that I
Yes.
remain, I retained from all
Right.
of this. Yeah,
Yes.
so that was coming out as lesbian, which really would have been better said as coming out LGBT. But
Right.
as far as transgender, I was. What kind of language can we use on this show? Is the F bomb okay?
Anything.
I
Yeah.
was
Anything.
so fucking destroyed from 2009 being kidnapped and raped for 5 hours in the back of a tow truck.
Okay, wait. So 2000. When is that? 2009.
Yes,
So how
2009.
old are you? How old were you
I had
then?
just turned 21 the
Just.
3 weeks
Oh
3 weeks
God.
prior. Yeah. And my father lay literally dying in the hospital. Um, he worked on his deathbed. I couldn't break his heart in the way that my heart had been broken for so many years in the family. And damn it, if you thought he did a good job raising his family, we'll let him go out like that. He also was a big contributor to our church, and I do believe he found his spirituality and salvation. And I can't speak to the rest, but just their errors or their inability to kind of like come out of the 1940s and 50s and realize that like we were raised in the 90s. Like I'm a 90s
Mm-hmm.
kid, Nickelodeon, Disney, Cartoon
Yeah.
Network, all
Right.
that. It's
Right.
like I kept that part to myself. I also didn't know he was going to die 9 days later. But that night that the rape happened to me was the last night that I saw my father alive in any meaningful way that he could communicate. Um, I was I was evicted, and because of them, um, and it was vicious. It was a targeted attack. It was believing.
Wait. You were evicted because of the attack?
Check this out. Let me go back. I want to be very
Yeah.
clear. I was living on my own in Los Angeles from the day before I turned 18 until 20 years old. At that
Okay.
time, they begged me, my father begged me to move into our rental property about 2 miles outside of Beverly Hills and stop paying my own rent in my studio apartment because they wanted my older brother to have an opportunity to live in LA, and he had already trashed a house down here, partying it up. Trashed, as in like the beige carpet was black, trashed, like a meth house, right?
Oh
Yeah.
God.
So because of that, they didn't want to deal with him, but they didn't want to keep funding all of his endeavors. So they said, "Well, you've been in LA for 2 years. I trust you. Can you go over there and make sure that the house isn't trashed and that things are going okay?" And I said, "I really, really love my apartment. I mean, it was gorgeous. It was on Sepulveda Boulevard. I had it for 9.25 a month. Right now, I looked. It's going for like 14. Like you can't really move back. Yeah,
Wow.
it
Yeah.
was my own space, but it did kind of make sense. Like, well, why wouldn't I live in our vacant duplex?
Right.
That why should my brother that partied all through high school? I never did drugs. I wasn't a drinker in high school. I was that designated driver. What was it called
Mm-hmm.
when you put the X's on your hands? What was that called? Oh, it was like kind of part of like emo culture, but it was like, oh, someone will see this and know, but it basically meant like I'm the one that doesn't drink, but I'm cool.
Okay.
So
Okay.
long story
Yeah.
short, I agreed to that. I agreed to move into the family duplex outside of Beverly Hills, which outside of Beverly Hills, oh, it's always we
Right.
always got to say it in the swankiest way, right? And while I was there with my brother, that we've never been close, we've never gotten along, 3 years apart between me and my older brother, as well as me and my younger brother. I was there, and they thought, well, they're adults now, maybe it'll work. It didn't. It didn't. He partied. He took offense to the fact that I was in a lesbian relationship, and had one last final party when I was ill. Mind you, I had undiagnosed lupus because every time I was homesick, they just assumed I had a test I didn't want to take or I was faking it or anything else. I had lupus
Right.
all my entire life. They're going back. I have these butterfly scars. These came when I was 14.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, so he was so disgusted and offended, supposedly, by me being a lesbian and having my lesbian partner come over to the house in my room as an adult, that when he threw a party, when he threw a party and invited some friends from his program that he was in that he probably doesn't know now and I had never met before. I asked him to keep it down. It had gotten to be about 2 o'clock in the morning and I was ill. And his friend said, "Are you going to let that bitch talk to you in your own house?" And I said, "Excuse me? One, I'm not a bitch. And two, you can get the fuck out of this house because this is my father's house." "No, it isn't." "Tell him. Tell her." At the time, "Tell her. Tell her how this is
Yeah.
your house." Well, my father and my older brother, he's a junior, so they had the exact same name. So he kind of allowed people to believe that, and that I was his sister
Yeah, of
that
course.
he was lovingly just letting live there. And I
Mm-hmm.
just I
Yeah.
just knew. I just knew that because he would tell my parents in the morning. I just knew that when they found out, this was so cut and clear, just so effed up and one-sided, that they would side with me. They showed up at the house the next morning, big picture window in the front. Could see them walking by with joy, just pep in their step, carrying an eviction notice. And my father walked through the door, he sat me down, he handed it to me, and he said, "I'm sick of this shit. I am sick of dealing with you. This is an eviction notice, and you have 24 hours to get yourself, all of your belongings, out of this house, as well as have your room broom swept." And I remember that, broom swept, because I made sure it was broom swept, right, to military standards, right? And after that, literally the next day, I'm sorry. Later in that evening, which was a Sunday, very hard to get a hold of a U-Haul on a Sunday, late in the day, just for those who might need to do
Right.
that. They called me and said, you know what, just come home. Like all in this upset, dramatic voice, just come home. So ultimately, what came out that in all these years of digging is that my father knew he was sick before he even married my mother. She knew as well. He knew he wasn't going to live past certain milestones for me. He would always say, "I'm not going to see you graduate, and I'm not going to see you get married." Things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, so my father knew that he was ill before he ever married my mother, and so my mom knew that she was marrying a sick man. They didn't know what it was for the longest. It turned out that it was exposure to Agent Orange in Vietnam, and it just attacked his whole
Oh
system and
no.
probably exacerbated an autoimmune disorder that he had because I have it. I have it. And he went down in the same
Right.
way that I started going down just 2 years ago, almost 2.5 years ago now, with the paralysis, the weakness, uh, just the worst case of lupus that anyone's seen, at least at the hospital that I was treated at. Um, so anyway,
Wow.
they just begged me to come home. And my dad had, I guess, recently at work had a fall and knew that his illness was progressing. So ultimately, it was sabotage to get me to come back home because he wanted to have me around. They wanted to have me around for comfort, a comfort that
Right.
I never felt. Um, if I had known that, although I was living in my car in a parking garage of what was then my ex, and her mother allowed me to come up to the apartment occasionally. God bless them. I had nowhere else to go. It was still preferable to live in that parking garage than to willingly put myself back in that position.
Right. In
I
that
feel,
environment. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like they target. I say AFAB. That means assigned female at birth. That would be me as a trans man. It could be a lesbian. It could just be you, just your average, I assume, hetero norm. You can't
Hmm.
assume these days, though, so I won't. But,
Right.
just,
Right.
I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. Let me see.
Um, we were just talking about them. They were trying to bring you home.
Oh,
And but you lived in the garage or
yeah.
the parking
Yeah. I
lot
was
thing
in the
instead. That was like better.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
in the fucking parking garage. Mind you, I was still acting and
And it was
stuff. So
better.
so no one, I would, clean myself up and go down to set. I was a working actor. That's never stopped. That thank God. I love what I do. I
Right.
love what I do. But it
Yeah.
was literally preferable because I knew they had sabotaged me. I just didn't have all the pieces to understand why yet. It was
Hmm.
preferable to going home. And
Right.
so I didn't. Um, but I did after obviously the incident that happened 9 days before my father died. At that point, it was better to go home because at least there was a
Right.
solid roof and but I was
Wait, so did this happen in that parking garage where you were staying?
yeah. So unfortunately, like the sexual assault, and I'm just gonna call it what it is, the kidnapping and the 5 hour rape that I went through before being discovered by an angel, an officer that was literally doing his job. Law enforcement people, some people feel a certain way about it. Definitely,
Hmm.
things have to be fair, right? And everything else. But I
Right.
have a special relationship with law enforcement because I was literally saved that day. I mean, he would have killed me. He admitted that his plan was to take me out to the desert and do whatever and ditch me out there. He was a convicted, twice convicted of child. I don't know the specific. I knew it like the back of my hand when.
Like
Yeah,
sexual
yeah, yeah.
assault
Of
or predator,
a
like a
lewd and
predator? Yeah.
lascivious act with a minor. That's what it was, as
Oh,
well as
okay.
a full-on sexual assault of a 15-year-old girl that he had impregnated, and she later disappeared. Right. I always played 18 to play younger because now not now I got some wrinkles, but back in the day, I was 18 or older, but they could cast me as 15, 16, which meant they could pay me as an adult, keep me all the hours they needed and this and that. It was kind of my
Right.
gig. I feel like that made him target me because I did look so young. And he confessed that
Okay.
he saw me in either it was one of my movies or a national commercial I had at that time and got obsessed. And because I wasn't somewhere safe, I was so accessible. I was living in that environment where I was literally homeless as a kid from Orange
Right.
County.
He was probably
Yeah,
watching
he
you.
was watching me. He
Yeah.
was watching me. And anyway, he had pursued me because he towed my truck back to where I was staying, and he saved my number. Right? He saved my number from, I don't even want to name the company, although I can, because I sued the fuck out of them and made sure that I retained my life rights, right? I sued the fuck out of them, and I still made sure that in that settlement, if I got nothing else, I was going to retain my life rights to warn people, and tell people that this happens. So it was an obsession that grew. And because he had called me, the girl that I went to the club with, who was a friend, it was an LGBT club. It was gay night at the club or whatever. I was drunk. I had gotten drunk. I was 21 freshly. I was living in a parking garage, and I had just seen my father,
Right.
this brilliant genius of a man, literally unable to, eat spoon-fed food. Yeah, it
Function.
was awful.
Yeah.
It was awful. I tried to
Yeah.
comfort him as best I
Right.
could, but I'm like, I'd be here a lot more if I wasn't fucking homeless, you know?
Right.
But
Like,
anyway,
I don't think he must not have thought about that.
no, no, no. No, it was so
Yeah.
poorly planned. I'm like, much less than that. If y'all had just been nice to me, I wasn't terribly motivated to move out. I love my hometown.
Right.
It's the
Right.
safest city in America for a long time, second safest. But not when you can't be yourself. That's not safe, and not when you're getting hit by,
No.
300-pound
Right.
adult and a 200-pound adult. It's just kind of scary.
Yeah,
So
for
anyway,
sure.
my friend, I was drunk, and instead of being able to take me home with her or however that would have gone down, she wasn't a terribly close friend, but she was a sweet lady. She redialed. I was saying call my brother, and so she redialed the last calls that had been into me, and it ended up being this rapist tow truck driver who, of course, said, "I'll be right there. I'll be right there to pick her up." She loaded me into that tow truck, and he drove me miles away, 40 miles away to it was a donut store parking lot, and he parked across the spaces because it was a big tow truck, and that was what gave this officer or sheriff the his feelers went up, and he's like, something is not right here. And
Something's
he
wrong.
checked. Instead of
Yeah.
driving on, he checked. I had been calling 911 repeatedly, just on speed dial, just hoping someone would, you see the movies, and it's like they'll be able to pinpoint me, someone's gonna
Right. They
come.
figure.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
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 And yeah, I experienced that rape both in the body, and then eventually, as that person literally was like murdered away, I had no choice but to embrace what was always emerging, which was my masculine side. Um, and once another friend told me, I was crying, and I was just like, I don't know, I just feel like none of this should be happening to me. My life's been all wrong. I don't know why I was born this way. I should have been born a guy. And she's like, well, why don't you just transition? And I was like, what? And she was like, oh, they're doing that now. Like, I have a buddy. She used to be cute, but he's gorgeous now, and you'd be super cute as a trans guy. So I did my research, and a
Yeah.
few months later, I was on T. And a year after that, about a year and a half after that, I was having top surgery to have these puppies removed and thrown away. And then about 5 or 6 months after that, I had the whole shebang, and had my penis constructed. Hey, and I no longer have phantom penis, guys, because I finally have my own.
Exactly.
You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
exactly.
So basically it's just that like nothing that they tried prevented me from becoming who I am.
Right.
It only served to traumatize me, delay my diagnosis for autism spectrum disorder, delay my diagnosis for having this coronary hypoplasia, this rare genetic heart condition that did cause 3 of my heart attacks. And it delayed my diagnosis for lupus because like I was saying, if I was sick, it was a behavior. Everything about my conditions was treated as a behavior, mostly stemming back to,
Right.
what happened when she was 3 years old. You know what I'm saying? It was always viewed as
Yeah.
some behavior attached to something. It was never, this is who this person is. And also, fuck yeah, we traumatized this kid and they're going to be
Right.
whoever they need to be to survive in this world. So I
Yep.
definitely want to be clear. I have only always experienced myself to be something other than a female. If female meant being like my mother or women on TV or
Right.
being a fucking female. I don't know how else to say it. I was like,
Right. Right. Right.
if like I am not that. I also was not ignorant, and I knew that my parts were different than my brothers, and that was
Right.
distressing. All the more because I couldn't just be the tomboy that I was. Many of my friends were, and gotta tell you, they all grew up. They have husbands. They wear dresses, and they're doing the mom thing. They're all doing fine. They
Right.
went through their
Right.
phase, and kids go through whatever
Right.
phases of discovery, and they end up being whoever they're gonna be. I didn't go
Right.
through really a phase of discovery. I just fought to be in an environment safe enough, or I guess just the shit hit the fan, hard enough so I could just come out and be who I am. There was no going
Who you?
backwards.
Yeah.
This body had been
Exactly.
raped and destroyed, just savagely
Yeah.
destroyed, and I couldn't even tell my mother about it without wondering what was going to come next. So when they brought me home, because they had to keep my vehicle for evidence and this and that, it was awful. It was awful, and it was a 3 year long drawn out court case where I was testifying in front of literally people fighting parking tickets. Casually, like casual, just misdemeanor type stuff. I had to
Right.
go in there in front of these people who sometimes were laughing at me, right? And tell these intimate details about my lesbian body being violated by this 48-year-old child predator, which thank God I do believe that my conviction was the one that put him away, um, hopefully forever. I
Thankfully.
believe so, and if not, I've at least kept young girls and young people safe for. Sorry, it's really emotional,
How
but
long did he get?
at first it was only like it was something small, and I remember being insulted. It was like something like 5 years or something like 5 to 8 years or something like that. But every time
What?
they told me, when he gets released, we will let you know. It doesn't matter if it's been years and years. You have a right to know, and we'll let you know. I never got any notification, and it was something I wanted to just block out of my mind. But every 5 years or so, I would check in, and this person is still incarcerated at such and such facility, and this and that,
Good.
different facilities. So I hope that they don't get out, um, and God have mercy on their soul. That's all I can say. Yeah,
Yeah.
God have mercy on their soul. Very sick individual. I could,
Maybe he's getting in trouble in there or something. I'm
yeah,
sure. And just, oh my God.
yeah. I could
Wow.
have gotten through that though, Shell. I could have. I could have gotten through that a lot better. But they urged me, law enforcement urged me, not understanding. They said, you have to tell your mom. You're going to need that support. You have to tell her. I said, oh God, no. You,
You don't know my mom.
you don't know my mom. You don't know my
Yeah.
mom. She's not capable of supporting me in that way. In fact, it was almost as if when bad things would happen to me, they were kind of celebrated because it was proof that, well, if you hadn't been LGBT, if you weren't a lesbian, this wouldn't have happened to you. If you had been with a man, he would have been there
Right.
to protect you. All those just very flawed, very, you know, God have mercy on all their souls.
So it's just your
Yeah,
fault.
yeah.
It's just your
It's
fault.
just my
Yeah.
fault. Like when I was 3 years
Mm-hmm.
old, you know.
Yep.
I've never believed that though. One moment.
I'm sorry you had to grow up like that, though. Oh,
It
that
was
had to
hard.
be very isolating, very lonely. And you probably just wanted to be heard.
I wanted to be heard, and I wanted someone to say that it was okay, that I was okay. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted someone out of the literal dozens of parents. Like the area we grew up in, it was a very family centered area. And so there were about 5 or 6 families where we all had matching ages of the kids and we all kind of grew up together. Um,
Mm-hmm.
those families did try to include me, and I'm still lifelong friends with some of those people. I just wish that the adults that a lot of them knew what was going on. I wish they would have been brave, just because my father was an
Right.
international corporate lawyer, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I wish someone would have had the stones, as they say, to say, "Hey man, I know you hit your daughter. I know you hit your daughter and
Right.
your other kids and it's not okay. I'm
Right.
gonna tell you this. I'm gonna
Yeah.
tell you this in private once, but if I hear about it one more
Yeah.
time, you're going down." There's ways to do it. It's not
Right.
just
Oh,
yeah.
hell yeah.
Yeah, there's ways to do it. It's not just
Yeah.
immediately what and you don't
And that's not something he would want to get out, being who he is.
who he
So,
was.
yes, who he was.
That's what
Yeah.
bothers me so much about my story, and probably why I have had to process and really be deliberate about telling my story, is because I actually genuinely do still love these people. I wouldn't have put up with so much. I love my mother. And, you know, God forbid she should ever see this, but if she does, I love my mother. I care for my
Mm-hmm.
mother. And as it stands right now, me and my wife are, we are her family. Um, eh,
Now, does she accept you both? Your
um,
mom, just how you are, just how you both are, and the way you live your life. Is your mom finally like, okay, I better stop being an asshole
no.
now?
So,
They're all I have
yeah,
left.
no. No, unfortunately,
Okay.
that's not really.
So it's not the fairy tale at the
No.
end.
No, the fairy tale is everything in between, and the
Yes.
resilience, the overcoming, the I can say that I really had the Hollywood experience that most of my friends that moved to Hollywood from the Midwest, from the South, from wherever that they had, where it's like
Right.
I'm living in my car, I'm making it work, I'm doing the hustle. I got to experience that,
Right.
so I earned my
Right.
street cred in Hollywood, and because of that,
Yes.
I get to sit on some pretty cool committees for SAG-AFTRA. I get to do a lot of
Oh, love
advocacy.
it.
A lot of people actually, I've done a lot of advocacy. That's what a lot of my career has been, in different movies and this and that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people,
And people care about your opinion.
yes, they
And
do.
yeah, and what you have to say, and you didn't get to experience that growing up.
I didn't. I thought that I was just catastrophically flawed. And I thought, if my parents don't love me, how could God love me? How could God love me?
Or anyone.
Or
Yeah, anyone. Yeah.
anyone. Yeah. So of course that leads
Yeah.
to you put yourself in these, relationships with people that never were of enough value to even talk to you. You know what I mean? You
Right.
let
Yes.
I've been slapped around. I don't want to make it seem like I can't throw a blow. I mean, when you're transgender, you gotta learn how to fight, right? Being any kind of guy in
Yeah.
this world, you're gonna get challenged by mostly other guys, and so I learned how to fight. So oddly enough, those rough relationships with because my mother told me, "Oh, well, it only happened to you because you're a lesbian. This is what I was telling you. This and that. This is why I didn't want you to join the army because the other soldiers would have raped you. And this and that. And all the things she held me back from." I'm like, well, shit, it happened anyway. At least I would have been a fucking
Right.
combat soldier. I could have defended
Right.
my fucking self. you know
Yes.
but yeah, so
Yes.
being in those bad relationships, learning what is not love, learning what love does not look like, and then having my wife come in right after I kind of got adopted by my elderly neighbors, who so the town was kind of
Oh.
like I guess you could call it a tweaker town. I didn't know that when I moved there. I had this much money and I needed.
Wait, what's a tweaker? Is that like drugs?
Oh,
Tweaker town?
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So, oh,
okay.
I didn't know that was that like a colloquial kind of thing.
I don't
Out
know.
here they call it tweaker towns, but yeah, I actually don't know what specifically it's referring to, but I believe it to be
Okay.
meth. I believe that that was the problem.
Yes, that's what I would think of, like meth
Yeah,
or
it was a town filled with people that had substance abuse issues, and specifically,
substance abuse issues.
yeah,
Yes, that's more appropriate.
yeah, and specifically,
Yeah.
I know for a fact, like specifically, a lot of them were suffering from addiction to methamphetamines.
Meth.
Thank God, I've always been such a cerebral person that I never went down the drug path. I didn't experiment with that.
Good.
It just wasn't my thing. I am in California.
Right.
I'm not saying I haven't, you know,
Right.
smoked a few,
Yeah.
anything, green cigarettes or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, but
Exactly.
nothing else ever took a hold of me. All those things that, like, you hear these stories of how people's lives get so destroyed from an act of, violence, or an unsupportive upbringing, or just a traumatic event, and they're
Yes.
so hurt forever. Like, I'm hurt forever, but I got tired of being hurt. I got tired of it. I just got sick of it. I was like, I cannot spend the next 36 years of my life being miserable, especially finding out that the biggest catalyst for my misery was someone who really, really hates herself, and never had plans for me to prosper as a person. Thank God that God had,
Right.
bigger and better plans than any of us could imagine,
Yes.
because I would have been lost like a lot of these other people. But I want to let people that are at that stage, or maybe you've just gone through your storm, or you're just getting into it, you have to keep fighting. You have to keep fighting. I just saw something on Instagram, and it was a pack of hyenas attacking this one lioness, and the lion had to fight, fight, fight this pack until reinforcements showed up. And then when the other lions showed up, they kicked ass. So you gotta fight, fight,
Yeah.
fight until that help comes. Just hang in there. There's a whole community of people, whether you're
Find your people.
LGBT, or whether you're a survivor, or whether you're dealing with medical negligence and malpractice, whatever has traumatized you. There is
Right.
love out there for you. There is light at the end of the tunnel. You are still who you are, and you can become whoever you need to be, given these new aspects of you that have been brought to the light. So just, that's
Right.
really important to me, especially for the youth, because our young people,
Yes.
our young people, they sometimes just don't have anywhere to turn. And especially when you add LGBT to the front of that, they don't have mommy and daddy to run home to often. They don't have church to go
Right.
to often. I fought to stay
Yes.
involved in church. I was like, y'all might have tried to fuck up my life, but you're not going to affect my soul. God is too real
Right.
in my life. He saved me through 3 heart
Right.
attacks. You know what I'm saying? Gave me my wife. She's my exact match. I mean, my literal exact match. I will be forever satisfied, and I will have my eyes only on my wife, because she literally checks
Oh.
every single box for me, and only God could do that in my
Yes.
worldview. And I leave space for
Right.
everyone. That's my worldview. That's what
Right.
helps me. Um, but yeah, I think talking about it's important.
How'd you get through 3 heart attacks?
3 heart attacks.
Like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, especially through 3 heart attacks. I was terrified. The first one was an absolute emergency, ambulance. Rush me in there. Mom was there. That's the tough part. She's been through. Like, I don't know if I just spit all over my screen. Um, anyway,
You
yeah,
did.
that was gross.
If you did, I can't
Okay,
see it.
great. But yeah, the tough part was always that my mom is still my mom. Like, despite all of the abuse, I can't just call it, I can't minimize what it was. The abuse, the physical and psychological abuse, there's still that mom thing that kicks in, like, I don't want you to actually fucking die. Oh shit. Oh God, I didn't mean what I said. Save him, Every
Right,
time, every
right.
time. So
It's like she was always showing up for you, but not fully
yeah,
showing up.
yeah.
Like physically, she would physically be there when you
She would
needed her.
physically be there, and
Yeah.
also had to be asked to, had to be removed from the hospital a few times for showing up intoxicated, unfortunately, and
Ooh.
aggressively standing over me and asking me, "Well, what is your plan? What do you plan on doing when you get out of here? I know you ain't coming back with me." And I'm like, I have my own house, Mom. I have my own house.
Yeah.
Um, but ultimately, I'm just thankful. I'm thankful to have gotten through all of that. I could not have spoken about this before because I was ashamed. I was ashamed of most of it, and I was ashamed of myself. I, you know,
Well, that's the one thing that always gets us, right? Shame
yes,
holds you back for a long time.
it really does, Shell. And I feel like that's why abusers and predators come at particularly people of a vulnerable age or a vulnerable population. I really want to talk
Yes.
about AFAB people between, the ages of being a child and right on up through the early 20s. It seems like people know that that is the last chance to assert the type of control they were never fully able to get to before that daughter or that trans son of yours or whatever is out of the house and will realize that you are completely and totally full of shit.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. I just, despite everything, I laugh. I find joy. I'm genuinely like none of this. I mean, oh, I've spent so many broken nights on the floor. I mean, literally, just broken nights on the floor with nothing but my service dog to comfort me, and sometimes just I've experienced like depths of pain that I believe like should have taken me out.
Right.
But I'm still here. So I guess there's some work to
Yeah.
still
And
be
I
done.
mean, that has to be inspirational for people too, because that's why I've said this 100 times, even with this podcast. Someone's going to relate. Someone's going to have those moments when they're even watching this now and they're like, oh, God, that's how I felt. I have felt this way. Oh my God, there's other people that feel this way, that have went through this shit, that have overcome that. So I can do it now.
Right.
I know I can do it. This person did it.
Right.
Like, and I know a lot of my traumas and the things I've been through. I'm older. I'm going to be 49 tomorrow.
You're not that much older. You're not
So,
that much older, and you don't look a day over 35, but happy early birthday to
well,
you.
thank you. That was very sweet.
Yeah.
Good thing to say. But I didn't have people out there that were talking about things and it was just a different time. So I did feel all alone. You don't feel like there is anyone out there that's going through the same, and no one would ever understand.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, like, with the podcast and things like that, we talk about so many different things that people are able to relate and put themselves there too, and know, like, look at you, shit. The shit you've been through to come out on the other side, it's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I
You're
was I
awesome.
was thank you. Thank you. I was really moved by one of the segments you did with a Green Beret who was telling his story. Oh,
Yeah.
I definitely watched like a few of the podcasts before just to really get a good feel for the flow of the show. And and I
Right.
mean, it's just such moving material. These people are telling like
Yeah.
their life stories. Some of them probably for the first time, I'm imagining.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep. That he only wants to tell his full story like that, like
yeah,
twice.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, and he's such an awesome person too. The people that we've met through this, and everybody's so genuine and they just want to help
yeah,
people. That's what I love about it.
yeah,
And we've made like friends through it, just because we all kind of have the same heart.
yeah.
I don't know. I just love it. I
Yeah,
love
no,
it.
it's definitely a community that you're building, and I feel so blessed and honored to be a part of that. And you certainly have made a new friend in me.
Yay.
We'll definitely stay
Oh,
plugged
yes.
in.
Yes.
And I want to say
Yeah.
this. I want this to somehow make it into this show. I want it to be known that if you if you don't fight for your kids, if you don't fight for your family members, you leave them vulnerable to exploitation, abuse, and harm, and also harm in ways people don't necessarily think. Now, if I'm going to the doctor and I'm saying this hurts, that hurts, I've been sick, I throw up, I'm weak, and everything else, and you say, I don't know, someone over here always seems to get sick when there's a project we don't want to turn in school, or so and so didn't want to go on this field trip, or whatever it is, and it's like I was ill. I was a visibly underweight, ill child, so
Right.
I want people to know.
So you were never like validated with your feelings, or even when it came to being
No.
sick, it was just, oh, she's pulling
I mean,
shit.
yeah,
Like,
she at the
because
time,
there's
yeah.
stuff to do.
I
Yeah.
received
Yeah.
care because we had top of the line corporate lawyer insurance until we didn't, until
Right.
I didn't, I should say.
Right.
So I got the attention I needed. It was just that if we're in the room with the doctor and it's, well, I'm an executive and my husband's a lawyer, and this little liar of a divergent, deviant, rebellious. I got called rebellious because
Of
yeah,
course.
for obvious reasons, right? I just didn't
Of
fit the
course.
mold, so I was rebellious. You
Right.
know, I take what she's saying with a grain of salt. To the extent that, like, as an adult, I have her completely. My mother is not allowed to be involved in anything medical with me. Um,
That's
yeah,
smart.
yeah,
Smart.
yeah, absolutely.
So going back just a little bit, is she okay with you as a couple now? Like, does she love you both? You're like, I really need water for this one.
I keep drying out, but I want to make sure that. So, I would say, for the first time ever, the relationship that I'm in, my marriage of now 3 years, is honored.
Okay.
It is honored, and it
Hallelujah.
is respected. Hallelujah, indeed.
What?
Yes. Um,
Wow.
I think out of dire necessity, honestly, I'm like, this is who's left. This is who's left. You
Right.
can still have, my mom also did a lot of volunteer work for the church and different women's empowerment organizations, oddly enough. Can't make this shit up, right?
Yeah.
But
Right.
she's made her contributions to the world as well, and I think was just a product of. It's just that I feel like being an executive and a woman and breaking glass ceilings in the 80s, and then, she always blamed me and said that I made her fat, although she's not fat now. She looks good, looking good, mom. Whatever, looking good. But I
Yeah.
mean, like, she had to stay home because, like, she had too many kids at that point, and she said that because
Right.
my dad had the higher credential, that was the decision. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I kind of, and then she would always say, I'm living vicariously through you for like my whole life. And I'm like, I don't know why. I'm nothing like you. I look nothing like you or nothing alike. You like this color. I like that color. Even if you did like the same
Right.
color as me, I'd change it because I don't want to be anything like you. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't a
Yeah.
complete pushover, but I do
Right.
hold that space for understanding where she came from. My parents are from the 40s and 50s, and they just, I don't know.
The fact that you love her so much and can still, I don't want to say like speak nicely of her, but just the fact that you don't say all the things you could say and that you still love her the way you do says a lot.
Yeah. 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 It
Yeah.
does. It really
And
it
maybe as
does.
she's getting older, maybe she's actually growing a little bit, and she's like, I'm getting older, and maybe I do have to accept. Maybe I do have to listen for
Listen.
once.
Yeah. Cuz it was, there's
Yeah.
always that the quote the Bible, it's like honor your mother and father, right? But people
Right.
don't go on to read, parents, do not provoke your children to wrath. It's supposed to be honor and respect in both ways, in all ways. In
Yes.
all ways. That's really what it's
Yes.
about. Loving
Not just
people.
control.
Yes, loving people,
Yeah.
respecting people, which you have to do to love them. Um
Mm-hmm.
and trying to do good in the world instead of like, I'm sorry, but I literally, I wouldn't want to hurt her feelings, but I'm like, you have spent what would have been your entire career trying to negate me and my life and my career,
Right.
where
Right.
you could have done a lot more with your life. I mean, like I said, I wrote this book, is being negated. It's pretty much about a lot of this stuff that we're talking about. It's just sharing stories like
Right.
this of overcoming, but it's not the only thing. It doesn't dominate my life. This is my first book, and this is actually family friendly. This is The Girl, the Rocker, in the Town.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not just like
Yeah.
sitting here some devastated, like, oh, this happened to me kind of guy.
Yeah.
But there is a part of me that hurts every day, and
Sure.
instead of trying to like,
Well, you've been through a lot.
yeah, and instead of trying to like dig that part out of me, which I think was, what my goal was for so long, like, get out whatever is in me that makes me so unlovable, or get out this thing in
Right.
me. Oh gosh, to I mean, there was like one thing. I'd already been through a lot, but I was like, God, please don't put me through rape. I don't think I'd be able to be close to you after. It's like, just please, just not that, please. And it happened, and I thought I was gonna lose God, but he's real, and he's held on to me and
Yeah.
my wife. So, um,
Do you think she's proud of you now, though? Do you think she's able to see, like, wow, look what he's done? He's acting and he's writing books and he's living his own life? Or do you think there's still that, she's still who she
yeah,
is kind
right.
of thing?
Well, let other people tell it, which was another reason why I never really got help. Your mother loves you. She does nothing but brag about you all the time. I know you're working on this project over here, and you just did that movie, and you were on stage over there. I know all of it. I know all of it. So you saying that she, like, hey, I know that you want to like kick it with me and my mom, but we don't really kick it like that. She sees my face and has a rage disorder, like legit. She rages on my face, like I can't help these
Right.
eyebrows. You know what I'm saying? I was born with husky
Right.
Doberman Pinscher markings, and instead of like people looking deeper, like, oh, those are just some fucking eyebrows on a child, they assume that I had the personality to match, and I'm like,
Now, mind you, a lot of people have those put on now. Same ones,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, this is
Yeah.
heritage right here.
Yes.
But so
Yes.
yeah, yeah, she's grown as a person. Uh, we're not done
She
yet.
can tell everybody else, but not
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
That probably stings a little because you would probably not even know what to do with yourself if she said all that to you.
If it was genuine,
Genuine,
if it was
yes,
genuine, and
genuine.
it wasn't just I brag about my child so that,
Let me brag.
yeah,
Yeah,
so I'm
you know
throwing
what?
them
I didn't even think that.
off the
Yep.
scent. It was another way
Yes.
of being negated. It was like, because
Yeah.
they tell you if something's going on, you go to a safe adult, you go to a friend's parent, a teacher at school, or a police officer, whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is. Okay, well, I did that, and every time it was, oh, stop. Your parents love you so much. I know that your dad is stressed a lot, and I know your mom has, I know she interacts with you differently, but you are loved, and plus, you are, considered rich by 95% of the
Mm-hmm.
rest of the planet. And I'm like, no, no, no,
Right.
no, no, no. They made it clear. They were rich.
They
And
are.
if I
Yes.
wanted to
Yes.
leave, I had to take my clothes off, my shoes off, and leave anything that they,
Leave it
leave it
all.
all and go out there. And basically, because I did that, though I graduated high school, later graduated college, and I was 18 years old and grown and was doing my own thing. I was living my life. It still was like they were trying to control me back into that more manageable, controllable state. And I'm a strong person. Like, I didn't let 3 heart attacks take me out. I didn't let any of this negativity take me out. I
Mm-hmm.
am a wheelchair user now. I can walk short distances, and especially for
Mm-hmm.
acting, I can appear
Right.
ambulatory, but Specifically, I have about 15 specialists that I see for my conditions. No
Wow.
exaggeration. Yeah.
Wow. Do they have you on a lot of meds and everything
Yeah.
for it? Yeah, especially lupus.
Yeah, and lupus is one of those like really misunderstood things because some people just have symptoms on, like their skin, which that also sucks, or
Right.
they get rashes, or they have some pain. I have systemic lupus erythematosus, and then which is the whole body. There's nothing
Yeah.
unaffected. And then unfortunately, because it took the 30 years to diagnose it, I have lupus nephritis, stage 5 out of 6. So, that being said, I'm trying to put in a lot of advocacy and good work in the
Yes.
decades that I'm healthy because I just might need a kidney one day. And I'm hoping
Right.
someone will pay it
Right.
forward to me if I've made any kind of difference in their life.
Oh, I have no doubt that you will.
Yeah. So, and hopefully we don't get there. God has been so good. Yeah, I believe in
Yeah.
actual literal miracles. I believe that my transition was a miracle. I believe that me being in my body before was a stumbling block to me coming fully to Christ and knowing that he loved
Right.
me for genuinely like who I am, for the good, the bad and the
Right.
ugly. Um
Right.
so yeah, I oddly enough like God allowing I prayed before I went and had surgery to have my penis constructed. I prayed before I had
Mm-hmm.
my breasts removed at the time. I prayed. I'm a
Right.
prayer warrior. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and if you're comfortable with it, down the road a little bit, maybe we should just do like an episode on your transition, like what you went through, how you did it, like the different emotions, the all the things, because I'm sure there's so many people that don't know.
Yes. And be
Yeah,
I would
and it's scary
yeah, I would love to
for
do
them.
that. And it's scary for
Yeah,
the potentially trans or non-binary individual, but it's also terrifying, sometimes more so for their family members. And so a lot of
yeah,
times, especially in the, evangelical kind of communities, these parents think that they're saving their kids' souls, not understanding
yeah.
my parents, if they had succeeded, would have lost my soul. I would have been going straight to hell
Right.
because of the damage, because of believing
It would have
that
crushed you.
they were right. And, the Bible says, let God be right and let every man be a liar. And that's what I live by. Um,
Right.
so it was a faith walk for me, and he put his stamp of approval on me, and I feel just thankful and blessed. Like I said, I carry these scars, and it's heavy. My posture is literally affected. If you were to see me, I'm kind of. If you've seen Coraline, the friend
Hunched.
YB on there, and I'm kind of
Yeah.
like that. Just from for a while, my mom didn't want me to be taller than her, so made myself shorter. You can't. Yeah, it's been a thing, but
Yeah.
I would love to do that episode because a lot of these families, there's even conversion therapy where they send their LGBT family member to go and get converted. It's actually listed as a form of abuse because it's ineffective. It does not work. Genuinely, transgender people do not detransition.
Right.
It would be tantamount to chopping my lower half of my body off if you were to ask me to
Right.
detransition. And also for trans men like me, it's not there are ways to push you back in a certain direction, but facial hair is permanent. The chest hair,
Right.
I look like Austin Powers under here. That's permanent. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Right.
basically, just you have to trust that God designed His children the way that He wanted them to be. You are given the seed, and you're trying to control what plant grows out of this, unnamed, unspecified seed instead of just planting your seed or your seeds and watering each of them with good water, not just the ones that agree with your lifestyle or you agree with how
Right.
they live their life or the ones that don't
Right.
piss you off, but watering all your
Right.
children evenly in good soil instead of choking one out. Then you would have this ongoing surprise, this this revealing of who that person is. And this, you get to see this beautiful plant, this beautiful, whether it's a tree or a bush or a flower or whatever it's
Right.
gonna be, bloom into being whatever they're gonna be. Children are literally seeds. You
Yep.
cannot predict what they are going to turn out. I was a gorgeous little
Exactly.
girl and I hated wearing those motherfucking dresses. It does not dictate who you're gonna be. So you
Right.
gotta let people be them. And in trying to stop
Be
them from being
themselves.
themselves, they're still gonna do it. They're only gonna grow up and hate you for getting in their way. And
I always feel like it's just like it's crushing someone's soul. Like if you don't let them be who they want to be, don't let them excel the way they want to excel in anything. Like you can crush their soul.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And sometimes what manifests out of a crushed soul is what I kind of feel like with, certain members of my original family is a crushed soul that's trying to crush other souls. So broken that it's like, hey, I know I'm going down, and if I'm going down, I'm taking you with me.
It makes them feel better, which is
Yeah, it's
sad.
like
But
in ancient Egypt how they would get buried with their pets and servants and stuff, and I'm like, you
yes.
got me all the way fucked up. I am not dying just because you're getting
Yeah.
older. We are not planning a simultaneous freaking ceremony. I will be living my life, and I will be making sure,
Yeah.
we will be making sure that mom has a safe and hopefully pleasant life too. I just would love to see her genuinely get to joy. And I don't know that that's possible for her.
How old is she? How old is she now?
She gonna whoop my ass. She may have just turned
70s,
getting there,
60s,
getting there
70s?
next
Yeah,
year. Yeah,
okay.
getting there next year.
So she's got some time. She's got some time.
Yeah, I think that
Let, let's all pray for her.
yeah. No, like
She might get there.
genuinely, like it's been just a mystery. I'm like, I love you, but you want this narrative that I've been put here to just destroy you. Like I'm like the antithesis to your existence. Like I'm
Yeah.
like, I thought she was like my like best friend until I got to a certain age, and I was like, oh no 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 no, nope. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, getting hit like that is never okay. Also, I understand if you gotta smack a little hand to tell them don't touch the hot stove, or you gotta
Right.
snatch someone out the street and say don't you ever walk in that street alone. I understand.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
You have to raise, your children or the people that you're around and make sure everyone's safe. That's different than I had a rough day at the office and I heard that you left your homework at home. So take off my belt, and go to your room, take off your clothes, and I'm gonna whip you. I'll be down there in a few
Yep.
minutes. You know,
Yeah.
it was as
And then
if,
you're just sitting there praying that you don't get the buckle end, right?
oh yeah, and I did get the buckle
Of the
end.
belt.
Objects that were broken,
Same.
yeah, yeah. Some people, I can't imagine that it's made anyone better, but I can certainly tell you firsthand experience from the few of the people I've crossed paths that went through it as bad as me. It hurts. Being hit as a human being hurts. And I'm a dog person. I'm an animal guy. But it's like we are appalled to see the mistreatment of a pet or a dog or an animal, but it's kind of like you talk about children getting hit, and it's like, well, what did you do? What were they doing? And this, that. Or I can understand. Were
Right.
they trying to
Right.
just discipline you? It's like, no, this was, I had a rough day at the office. I got to take out this frustration. Your mom whooped your
Right.
ass after school and told you I was going to come home and whoop your ass after I got home from work.
Whip
It's
your ass.
hours
Yeah.
later, and I'm here. Here's daddy. And
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
okay, it just wasn't the smartest long-term plan since I guess I was the comfort that they wanted to keep with them in their old age. Like I'm here, but I'm here
Exactly.
I'm here to observe and make sure that things are running safely and that no one's going to take advantage of my mom the way I've been taken advantage of. Um Maybe it's just a male ego
Oh,
thing
that
at the
says a
yeah,
lot.
I think it might just be a male ego thing, but I like to protect those that I care about.
Right.
First and foremost, my wife, but I certainly I know in my heart and my mind that I have no obligation to care for someone that abused me. But
Right.
my soul doesn't seem to understand that message. So,
Well, it's a good thing that they didn't fully crush you,
no.
you know,
No.
because you can still
They
be
didn't
you.
even hold me back from
And
any of my
and
dreams.
you're thriving
Yeah.
in every way. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
like, so essentially, I went from being homeless and living on the streets to starring in Street Fighter. I'm like, whatever you guys do to try to knock me down, I'm literally going to be given everything that I've ever dreamed of and more abundantly
Right.
by faith. The faith that y'all lacked. If you had that faith, you would have believed that I would have been okay and you would have just trusted the process and
Right.
trusted God.
Yes.
But, you know, everything does seem to mellow out, and people will find their own levels and what works for them and their family. They'll either do it willingly or they're going to be pushed into a position where you got to
Right.
recognize it,
Right.
so
Right.
it's just moving
love-
forward from
I
there.
love it. I love that you're telling it all.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to, and that's why I wrote the book, because I felt like I had been judged my whole life by people that got to certain people before me, before I could tell my own story. And I felt like writing it down in Being Negated, the book, allowed me to really make that history. Not that it's a history I'm proud of, but it doesn't go nowhere. You know what I mean?
But it's still your
Yeah.
story. It's still your
And
story.
yeah.
And you've pushed through so much. Is the book out?
Yes, actually, the book,
Okay.
the ebook is out, and then this is actually my author manuscript, so it's bound like this. But
Okay.
the very nice expanded print edition is also coming out, and it's basically chronicling the lives of transgender characters within our community, some of the traumas that they've been through, most of which are ones that I've been through myself, and just kind of showing people that we go through hell to be who we are, but we can
Right.
still be decent, and there is light at the end of the tunnel, and you can still be yourself. It doesn't mean that you're not going to go through the shit for being yourself, but it means that you
Right.
can you can be yourself if you just keep fighting, and eventually
Right.
someone's going to hear you. Someone's going to
Right.
hear you.
I like what you just said, as far as like how hard it is for you, like especially like with trans, how hard it is, and like I'm sure you don't feel understood and all the things. Who the hell would fight so hard to be who they want to be, knowing they're going to get abused by so many people?
Yes.
Do you know? Like people need to like think about that.
Yes, we
Like,
sacrifice
It's
everything.
not like easy street. Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
No, my mom told me, and this was about like maybe, I don't know, maybe whatever grade is 16 years old, but we were talking about cars.
Like 10th.
Yeah,
10th
for me,
grade?
I think
Yeah.
it was 11th grade, and we were talking
Okay.
about cars, and I remember her saying, "Oh, you're just so stupid. You are so stupid. Don't you know that if you could just put the dress on, or put the heels on, or do the hair, or just give your father what he wants. Just be that little girl in the picture in the blue dress that he keeps on his desk. You've never lived up to that. I was 2 in that fucking photo." You know what I'm saying? If you could just
Yeah, like move forward, move
yeah,
forward.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so if you could just give him what he wants. He just wants a daughter he can show off. He would have bought you a Porsche. He still would. I don't understand it. You're gorgeous. Why won't you make it work? Sorry, that's
You're like, I'm still
yeah.
gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm still gorgeous.
Regardless.
One, I
Yeah.
don't want a Porsche. They're cool, but that was my older brother's first car. I needed an SUV because I knew one day I might be fucking living in it. And so that's what I got. So who was right about their
Smart,
life?
very smart.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And I had to tell people, I had a lot of people, mom too, well, God told me this about you, and God told me to tell you this about your life, and this and that, and he whispered this in my ear, and I'm like, I finally had to tell her, Sweetheart, you have been wrong about every prediction you have had about my life, who I am, and what I'm going to be, and what my potential is. When God talks to me, He speaks directly to me in many different ways. Sometimes it's a
Right.
trickle of light coming through the window, sometimes it's a gust of wind at just the right time, and sometimes it's a still small voice. But certainly, if God wants to tell me something, He talks to me, and I don't need you to be some intercessor, some middleman to communicate with God. That's not how
Right.
it works. At least in the type of Christianity that I am in. I know Mom was raised
Right.
with in a somewhat Catholic environment, um, which also still, there's intercession, but it still isn't like God told me that you are supposed to be this and that. And He told me you absolutely should not be a teacher and you definitely shouldn't get into nursing. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
So yeah, you have to just know who you
I
are.
think she's just been grasping, for anything that she could like send your way,
Yes.
just to get her way,
To get her
to have her
way. And
control.
that control, though,
Yes.
and negating me my entire life has resulted in a very, in my opinion, unpleasant chapter for my mom and the rest of the family. I just kind of look and I'm like, y'all look fucking miserable. I hope it gets better,
Right.
And
Right.
oh, I guess that's the,
And it's not your job anymore to make them feel different.
no, no.
It's just not your
No, and
job.
I'm not at all close with the other two children that I was raised with. In my opinion, I feel like they were invested in a lot more. That part's not my opinion. I was hit harder because my father had, mom said that he had issues with his own mother and women in general, and so he hit me harder. I do remember her standing up for me one of those times, and she said, "Don't you ever hit my daughter again? Don't you ever hit her that hard again?" But it's like, if you turn around and do it later or negate or whatever, like,
Right.
what the fuck, man? You're outraged
Right.
by his behavior, but not your own. You got that blind spot. There's a lot of blind
Yeah.
spots, but I'm
Seems like they cared a lot about image and how everyone's
so
perceived.
yeah, no,
It's really
we were
sad.
entirely a prop family. That's the part that I didn't realize. So they invested in their two, cisgender normal sons. You know what I mean? I mean, invested in them like I
Right.
wasn't invested in. Everything was
Right.
like anti me. They invested in them for just such a moment where the shit hits the fan. Ring the alarms. Dad has passed away. The king is dead. They fled the country. There was no, there's this myth. Well, your brothers, if anything ever happened, oh, they would take someone out for you. They would be there to defend you. This or that. They have not once. I want to go back. My brothers have not once asked me about 2009 and if I'm okay. But they know about it because my mom
They
spread that
know.
to the entire family, that neighborhood system of friends, the church system, over glasses of wine, anyone and everyone who would listen to my life story, these tragic things. The same way that Law and Order SVU would pop on every time I walked downstairs for years, years. And it got to the point where when she did that, I would literally I'd hop into the room, and if she turned the channel, I would literally back out and just avoid it, just avoid the whole interaction for the day.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So she doesn't
No,
even know the
you're
fucking book is out because she doesn't buy my books. Yeah. She doesn't know.
people get in their own way,
Yep. Yep. But I can't.
Nothing you can do about that
And
though.
I'm 36 now, and I have a family of my
Yep.
own, and I
Yes.
I have to be as well rounded, safe, and whole as I can
Yes.
be for my family,
Yes.
which she is still a part of, but it's a new generation.
It
So
is.
yeah,
Absolutely.
so I'm really glad.
Well, I'm glad that you came on and told, parts of your story because I know we haven't talked about any of this stuff yet. So I think that it's going to resonate
Yeah,
and help a lot of people.
I think so too, and I just thank you so much for having me on here.
I'm glad you came on.
Yes, and especially in these times, I don't get political. I mean, I'm a libertarian. I'm an independent. But in these
Right.
times, there's a lot of questions about transgender and what does that mean, and are we
Yes.
trying to have an ideology and spread it and this and that. I can just tell you my experience has been uh
Mm-hmm.
we're it's just like the LGBT community, like the lesbians, gays, and bisexuals.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, well, there's another letter.
The problem is people are ignorant to it and they don't understand. So then they just think they know without being taught or educated
Yes,
on any of it,
and
which
yeah,
is just kind of ignorant, you know?
willfully ignorant
But
sometimes because no,
there's a
because
lot
I
of
have
ignorance in this
we've
world.
been doing the advocacy for a long time. I worked with BuzzFeed specifically to get a lot of information out there, and we were able to put out that slate of content that came out around 2015, 2016, when people finally heard about transgender. It's like, whoa, what's happening? Where is this coming from? It's like, we've always fucking
Right.
been here. You guys have just relegated us to the sewers. You didn't want to see us like other
Right.
unmentionables in society. But
Right.
unfortunately, a lot has changed, and there's a lot of us that are college educated, professional, and have
Yep.
gone out, and we have the same opportunities that the cis hetero people have. And just to be clear, I am a transsexual man, meaning that I'm part of the binary. So my pronouns are he, him, his. I'm not they. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually insulting to be called they. I know exactly who I am, and the people that are non-binary know who they are too. It's just a spectrum. But
Right.
we're kind of more like focused on ourselves than like your kids or your
Right.
church
Right.
or whatever. We don't care. This is about
Mm-hmm.
making this body come as close to
Right.
being aligned with this mind, because the mind cannot be changed.
Yes.
They can't change it yet. They can't fix this part, right?
Yeah.
So,
Oh, God help us all if that
oh yeah.
happens.
Well, they used to try with lobotomies and shit. I mean, that was
I
some real
know.
shit
I
for the
know.
LGBT community, and
Yeah.
also for people that are exposed to the mental health system and some of
Yeah.
those horrors. Although there can be help within that system as well. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I just
No, that's fine. We'll wrap it up here. God, there's so much good
yeah.
stuff. So, but we're gonna do a part two
Okay.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm
yes,
down. I'm
for
I'm
sure.
super down. Oh my goodness, you just don't even know how, like, the only time this has ever come out and not in this much detail was I did Mark Angelo Cummings' show. He's a trans man like me. And I started like kind of putting a little bit of it out, very surfacey, but I've never told my story like this. And when
Oh,
I saw
good.
that you were going to be having guests on, I specifically wanted to tell my story on your show because of the quality of
Oh,
show that you put
thank
out and giving
you.
people this kind of platform. So thank you so much for having me.
Well, just so you know, we really read through every single one of them, and we've gotten thousands and thousands of submissions.
Yeah.
So, and yours definitely stood out.
Thank you
Definitely.
so much for helping.
No, I'm glad you came.
Yes, thank you.